What is up, everybody? It's Gels from Fitment Industries, and boy, oh boy, do we have a topic for you today. But before we get into all that, I just wanted to let you know that we have another giveaway going on this month. I know, surprise, surprise. And believe it or not, it's not for a set of wheels, but however, it is for a full set of BC Racing coilovers. That's right, we're giving away suspension because, you know, wheels, tires, and suspension. Like always, easiest way to enter is to pick up a shirt at fitmentindustries.com. We are ahead of this, so I am wearing the Koenig shirt from last month, but you want to check it out. We'll put a link down in the description below. But you know the drill. If you don't, well then I don't know what is going on. Either you're new, which if you are, then hello, welcome, or you usually just skip the intro to these videos, and if you do, then how dare you. I know you might want to skip Tutorial Island, but you might be missing out on a lot of good information, like maybe how to win a free set of coilovers, or how to smith some armor. I don't know. Anyway, let's crack into today's episode of the build sheet, where we are going to be going over front wheel drive versus rear wheel drive versus all wheel drive. Alrighty then, so let's go ahead and talk about the elephant in the room, get it out right away first, and talk about the drivetrain that everyone seems to get real heated about and defensive about, and that is going to be front wheel drive. Now, even though this is considered wrong wheel drive for quite a few of you out there, it does have its advantages. However, let's go through the not so decent stuff first. Just rip it off like a Band-Aid. Now, obviously front wheel drive, right? All the power from the engine goes to the front wheels. When it comes to performance, vehicles' weight distribution can be quite a factor into how a car will handle, especially in the corners. With most front wheel drive platforms having all the drivetrains sitting right in front of the driver, can locate a lot of that weight that is normally distributed throughout the vehicle in one central area, which is right over the front axle. Now, this can become a little tricky when going into a corner at a higher than normal rate. Other downsides include little things that we like to call understeer and torque steer. With front wheel drive cars, you have front wheels doing two jobs at once. You have them steering and you have them applying the power to the ground. You have more than likely experienced understeer in some point of your time of driving. If not during performance driving, then definitely during wet or snowy road conditions. Basically, it's when you turn the wheels to turn the car around a corner and you're sitting there with the wheel turned and you're going straight, wondering why that curb is coming up faster than normal. On the other hand, torque steer, which is arguably one of the more fun reasons to own a front wheel drive car, is when the car decides to pull one way, either to the left or to the right during a hard acceleration. Now, why is that, you might say? Well, I'm glad you asked. When looking at front wheel drive cars, you will notice that the transmission is usually offset to either one side of the engine bay, causing the drive shafts of each of the two wheels to be different lengths. Now, because of this, we usually see a higher amount of torque being sent to one side of the car versus the other side, usually the side with the shorter drive shaft, causing torque steer. However, this can actually be counteracted with the introduction of what is known as an intermediate shaft to bring those drive shaft lengths to more of an equal length. Well, right, I mean, that's pretty common, you know, just part of owning a front wheel drive car, but what are some of the benefits? Well, for one, front wheel drive usually offers a bit better traction over its rear wheel drive counterpart, especially when it comes to rain and snow. For the most part, front wheel drive cars are cheaper to manufacture, which leads to a cheaper price tag due to the less amount of work that it takes to actually install a front wheel drive drivetrain versus a rear wheel drive or even all wheel drive drivetrain on the assembly line, and it includes fewer parts as well. All that paired with better fuel efficiency is why we see so many front wheel drive cars on the market today, and part of the reason why cars such as the Honda Civic and everything related to it have done so well previously within the car scene. Moving on to the second option of the everlasting drivetrain argument, we have the classic and simple rear-wheel drive. Now, it should come as no surprise that the rear-wheel drive platform is usually the go-to for any performance-oriented vehicle nowadays, usually competing head-to-head with all-wheel drive. However, the rear-wheel drive platform has been held at like the throne of the preferred drivetrain setups for enthusiasts for quite some time. Now, do I agree with that? Am I here to tell you that you need to buy a certain type of drivetrain over the other? I'm just here to give you the information you need to come up with a solid judgment for your next move, and for you to drop it in the comments below so you can argue with someone else who thinks completely different with you, and I'll just sit back and watch it because it's a lot of fun. Anyway, the rear-wheel drive drivetrain has been around since the dawn of automobiles. They are simple and rugged, and they are the go-to choice for when manufacturers are looking at creating a sport-oriented vehicle. One of the main advantages that you get with the rear-wheel drive over, let's say, a front-wheel drive car is that it creates a better balance throughout the entire vehicle. Like we touched with the front-wheel drive cars and having all their weight over the front axle, adding a rear differential and drive shafts and moving the transmission back a little farther, help carry that weight throughout the rest of the car. Plus you get to do a lot cooler things, you know, like drifting without having to put lunch trays under your rear tires. That was a video that I remember surfacing not too long ago. It was like front-wheel drive cars, just put lunch trays in your rear wheels and you'll slide all around and it looks hilarious. Plus the burnouts look cooler and no longer is it understeer, but now it's oversteer. And that is all fun and games until you hit the hard winters of Wisconsin with your rear-wheel drive car and you're sliding all over the place. But hey, if I can survive multiple winters in a $900 E36 and some bald tires, you'll be fine. Seriously, just get some winter tires, throw the old sandbags in the trunk, and you'll be ready to rock. Which brings us to option number 3, the all-wheel drive drivetrain, which we have come to love in cars such as the Evo and the WRX and a whole spew of Audis throughout the years. Even though purists will argue that the only true performance platform relies on putting power down to only the rear tires, all-wheel drive cars have been catching up quick in the eyes of the public over the last decade. This is truly due to the advancement in the all-wheel drive systems that we have seen come out in the last few years. When they were first introduced, they were kind of iffy. They were kind of like hit or miss. And they suffered severely from things such as understeer, similar to front-wheel drive cars. However, when our lovely Mitsubishis and Subarus started evolving, they soon became very competitive with their rear-wheel drive rivals. All-wheel drive offers quite a bit of good reason to go with it versus front-wheel drive or even rear-wheel drive. Launching, putting power down to all tires to ensure a crisp launch, cornering speed, and if you didn't think I was going to mention it, you're crazy, but guess what? They handle absolutely amazing in the snow. I know, crazy, right? The only one downside being that they are a little bit heavier than most rear-wheel drive and front-wheel drive counterparts, just because you have a lot more going on. You have more differentials, you have more drivetrains, you have more drive axles. You got a whole bunch of stuff going on underneath the car that adds a little bit more weight. And one thing to note with that too is that if something goes wrong, it can be a little more expensive to repair, which also adds on to the initial manufacturing costs of most all-wheel drive cars. So now we've reached the end and you're probably sitting there like, that's great, you know, but what is the answer to the question of like, what's the best drivetrain? And honestly, I can't sit here and tell you that there is an exact answer to that question. You see, it all comes down to what you as a driver require from your car. If you're looking for something that is going to get you some pretty decent gas mileage for usually not an absurd amount of money, that is still going to offer some decent driving experience, then front-wheel drive is probably going to be your answer. If you're looking to create a track monster, an absolute drift missile, or like to do some crazy burnouts and shit like that, rear-wheel drive is going to be your answer. However, if you're looking for something that to drive year-round, through all the seasons, through all the weather, through all that kind of stuff, offers fantastic all-day weather capabilities, still take it to the track every now and then, or maybe just create an absolute rally machine, all-wheel drive is going to be your answer. Now, the true answer lies with the driver and what they need from their car. Each platform has its own shining point and each does at least one thing better than the other. So let us know what your thoughts down in the comments below if you believe that there is a top dog when it comes to drivetrains, and don't forget that we have a giveaway going on for the month of August. And of course, don't forget to subscribe. Wheels, Tires, Suspension, FitmentIndustries.com. I'm Giles. We'll see you later. Peace.